Hello, welcome back to your favourite Formula One podcast called the Lapdown Podcast with myself, Dan, and Alex, and we are here to talk about the Austrian Grand Prix. Maybe a little bit of movie news, maybe some Ferrari upgrades, maybe some George Russell contracts. Actually, it's not a maybe, it's all of those things. Alex, how are you? I think you're excited for this week because I think you like driving the Spielberg or whatever the circuit's called on the F1 game.
It's a good track. I think it's a good track.
I knew it.
I think it's a good track. It's a very short track, isn't it? It's a short track. And it feels decent. I think you can overtake around it in a couple of places, which is, we don't say that about a lot of tracks. So it's quite nice going to a track where we're not fearing the worst. So, yeah, I think we're almost guaranteed some more top-of-the-hill hairpin business. Yeah. I just can't see there not being some hairpin business going on at the top of the hill. I couldn't tell you who it's going to be between. They might both be orange. They might be orange and navy. It's going to be one of those colours. I'll tell you that much. So, I think it's good. The Red Bull ring. I think it's good. Yeah. It's got a big ball. It's cool.
It's a proper track, which I think ticks a big box. It's got 3 DRS zones, which again ticks another good box. But they're kind of natural DRS zones. It doesn't feel like they're forced. They're kind of long enough with heavy enough braking zones at each of the end of them to make you go, yeah, okay. Maybe the first one across the start-finish line, you need to use that to set somebody up. The second one, you think, brilliant. And the third one, you go, oh, I don't know whether that move's done yet, as you get the little switcheroo and they come back at them going into that downhill hairpin. As you said, the big kind of chrome bull is cool, completely unnecessary, but cool. There is a massive stand which is normally full of people wearing orange t-shirts, which normally goes quite well. And obviously if Max is successful, then nobody can see anything because there is then an orange smoke screen just drifting across the circuit. And it's good. Yeah. It's good. I like it.
Should we
Cars go around quickly.
Should we call that corner after the DRS zone? Like that's the Albon Hamilton corner, isn't it? That's the corner that may have single-handedly lost Alex Albon like a Red Bull trajectory.
Look at you showing off your kind of Formula One historic race
That's because
knowledge.
it's in the last 5, mate. Anything within the last 5 I've got.
Hey, but look, 5 years is starting to feel like a long time, maybe.
I would say
you're building the knowledge.
Just a Drive to Survive fan, though, according to a lot of people.
No, you'll be one of us. Next, to be fair, as soon as this movie kind of gets going, you will no longer be a Drive to Survive fan because all the established fans will just bully those that have watched the movie and got into the sport. So I think you're safe. The movie came out on the 25th of June. Have you queued up and rushed to the cinema to watch it?
No. Have you queued up and rushed to the cinema to watch it?
No.
Do you intend to spend £28 or however much a movie ticket is these days to go and watch it?
It seems unlikely. My desire to go and watch a rookie 61-year-old Formula One driver isn't particularly high on my list of things to do. Apparently he jumped in a McLaren the other day. Actual Mr. Brad Pitt, not Sonny.
Mr. Brundle.
Sonny Hughes. Sonny. What's he called?
Sonny.
I don't know. Anyway, apparently he jumped in an actual Formula One car, and I think Lando Norris said he did all right.
He got to I saw he was upset because he got to 198 mile an hour or something around Kota, and he was upset that it wasn't 200. But then the speed trap, it's a slightly older car, but the speed traps, I think the fastest speed from our most recent Kota outing was 204 or something. So bloke got his foot down, bloke wasn't fucking about, and fair play to him. But yeah, I think Mr. Brundle jumped in a car as well. I think I saw some Sky F1 stuff, so that will no doubt come out. But
Martin's good.
I'm entirely indifferent about the film. I will probably end up seeing it at some point. Yeah. I've not been tracking its release date. I've seen some people speak relatively positively about it. I do find it is the new Drive to Survive, though, that the F1 community had already decided they hated it. No, that's too much. Some of the gatekeepy corners of the F1 existing fan community had already decided it was going to be this, it was going to be shit, this was going to happen, I can't believe they're definitely going to do this in it, before they'd even seen the bastard thing. Yeah. It just be happy. You don't have to go and watch it. No one's forcing you to go and watch it. If other people like it, let other people like it. I don't know if it's good or not. I don't care if it's good or not. If I watch it and I think it's shit, then sweet. But people, it's like when a new game comes out, and people seem to get horny over wanting it to fail. And I don't understand why. Why do you want something to not go badly? Why would you not want it to be good? If you like Formula One and there's going to be a Formula One film coming out, surely your default position should be, oh, well, I hope that's good. Full stop. And then see it and then go, oh, no, it wasn't as good as I thought. It was a bit Hollywood and it was a bit dramatic and, you know, I'm a bit too clued into F1 to get it. Don't decide shit before you've seen it.
That's a fair point. I think I could say with some confidence, if you're going to turn up at your local cinema and sit down and expect to watch Brad Pitt go wheel to wheel and walk away thinking that's one of the best Formula One Grand Prix you've ever watched in your life, you are going to come away from it very disappointed. So I think it's probably worth kind of caveating and saying, try and watch it as a movie and try and enjoy the story and try and enjoy that kind of Hollywood element of it. The actual plot and the story of it might be utter shit. It could be. There's every chance, but that I think is the way that you do have a kind of an ounce of being able to enjoy it as a product. And I will watch it at some point. You will watch it at some point, and I'm sure between the two of us, we will put together some form of thoughts whether we thought it was worth it or not worth it, and move on with our lives.
Yeah, and I think it will probably be visually quite impressive. Because it's the Top Gun dude, right? Like, the director behind it is a pretty big-time director, and it's got some Apple money behind it. And I don't think you fuck around with Brad Pitt and essentially running... Because F1 are obviously quite invested in it. And I just think there's so much money behind it. It's a little bit like Avatar. The plot of Avatar was wank. But, God, it was pretty. Like, it's a pretty film. And it was a very visually impressive film. The plot itself is just, you know, nothing.
Yeah.
So, it should surely have some cool cinematics.
It should do. But now that Formula One have discovered the fact they can just send a drone 3 miles up into the sky and do a top-down view of some really cool corners, I don't know whether I don't know. Maybe the Top Gun director's just pissing in the wind for it because we've reached peak cinema.
It's possible.
And we've had that already. We've had it at Monaco, we've had it at Miami, and we've had it at Canada. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll have a watch of it and see.
There's going to be Turn 1. Oh, there's going to be Turn 1 and Top of the Hill drone stuff in Austria, isn't there?
So good, isn't it?
Top of the hill hairpin drone stuff. Oh, I'm lifting the desk, Dan. I'm lifting the desk. I'm sat down. It's just risen.
If they put that drone in the right place, I think you'd be able to get the entire circuit.
Yeah.
I think that'd be pretty cool.
And there's some field spread at Austria as well because it is short.
Yeah.
But that top of the... Oh, here we go. Here comes Sunday. Here comes
Sunday. What else are we going to talk about, mate?
Let's talk about Mr. Colapinto. It's a quick one. He's the preferred driver of the Lapdown Pod.
Pinto.
And according to the reports, the 5-race thing, is either been extended or wasn't a 5-race thing. We all knew there was more moving parts to it, I think, than it's just a 5-race thing. But by all accounts, they're hanging on to him, which, I'll say it again. Argentina, we like the boy, right? He's the preferred driver of the Lapdown Pod. What has he done better than Doohan did?
Yeah.
Because I think objectively the answer is nothing.
I'm going to throw a bit of controversy out on the podcast. If you like it, take it. If you don't, just send it straight back. But Alpine clearly have had enough money or are happy with the performances from Sir Franco Colapinto. What does he have to do to stop being the preferred driver of the Lapdown podcast? Because we are a performance-based podcast, and we really do focus and challenge the upper echelons of Formula One podcasts. How long before we move on from Franco Colapinto and turn into Gabriele Bortoleto, the preferred driver of the Lapdown podcast?
Now.
Or the Isaac Hadjar, preferred driver of the Lapdown podcast? There's options here, and that's all I'm saying. I'm saying if the contract comes up, I think we need to have a serious conversation about whether we re-sign Franco. Because I'm not happy with the performances yet.
What I will say, much like what we're going to go on to in a minute, that the FIA have released the penalty guidelines.
For further clarity.
If there's enough pressure put on the organisation, we may have to publish preferred driver guidelines because it's not all about on-track action with Mr. Colapinto, right? When I hear that Isaac's fucking MILFs, we will consider Isaac as the preferred driver of the Lapdown Pod, right? I've heard none of that chat at the minute.
Okay,
he might be. He might be doing it quietly. I don't know, right? But Franco's putting them in my face, right? And I've got a lot of time and a lot of respect for that,
Interesting
you see?
choice of words.
And then he's banging the mate down, you see. What's Isaac drinking? I don't know. Impress me with your beverages, Isaac. What I will say, Bortoleto, right? Nice to say. So I think there's points for that. It's not Franco Colapinto. It's not quite as good as that. Gabriele Portoletto. It's not bad. It's not bad.
Far away, mate.
Not far away. Not quite as good, right? But, and this is points for Gabby. He knows his Italian brain rot, right? And if we're going to be tun friends, right? That helps. But then I don't know. Franco might like some Italian brain rot. We'll find out. It's a wonderful question. He's got until the summer break at least. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. We'll see who he's going through by the summer break, and then we'll make a decision.
Pressure on Franco. That's the real pressure.
Real pressure. But yeah, he's staying. And to bring it back to a more serious point, it's confusing. It is confusing how Doohan was under immediate pressure. Franco has delivered exactly the same, and there seems to be backing and support. Now, you could argue Doohan maybe should have just had backing and support, and then who knows where we go from here. But yeah, interesting one. It's an interesting one anyway. But we'll see what happens after Austria. Do you want
to talk about more contracts?
Let's talk about more contracts before we go into... I think the FIA are the meat of the episode. So we'll do some more contracty stuff. Oh, right. Mercedes are fucking around, aren't they? And you do wonder where on the fuck around and find out scale Mercedes might get themselves to. Because I don't think... it's hard to know whether George is doing media work and trying to put pressure on in the media by continually talking about Max replacing him, or whether he's doing that because there is a genuine risk, or whether he just likes talking, or is he shit-stirring, or what. Do Mercedes genuinely replace George Russell with Max Verstappen?
Jeez. That wasn't the greatest segment of a podcast, that was it? Whilst the old cogs were churning around between the arrows there. Do they genuinely replace him? The thing is, I think we've spoken about this before. These Red Bull drivers, as recent history has kind of shown, they'll get 4 banging seasons and then just fall off a cliff. Sebastian Vettel did it. Nobody else has done it since then. Ricciardo left Red Bull, fell off a cliff. Webber just retired from Red Bull as well. Everybody else has left Red Bull and just kind of slid down the pecking order.
Yeah.
So if you look at that in mind, it's not to say that Max is different. And I think he probably is more ruthless than any of those mentioned before. Is it George or is it Kimi? It's probably George. Do they replace him if Max turns around and goes, yeah, go on then, I'll do it? Does Max do it because he wants to, or does he do it to piss George off? Is that another way? And it's kind of one little bit of one-upmanship there for the bickering school kids that have been going at each other for the last 12 months, which I could kind of see a little bit of Max Verstappen shithousery, which I would quite like, to be fair. Deep down, I would quite enjoy that. And then the other question is what happens to George Russell if that does happen? Because I don't necessarily think they just swap seats. Like, Red Bull are proud of this family and junior driver program that they've spent ages developing, and developing some of the incredible talent that they have. I don't think they just suddenly go, oh, come on then, George. And the other thing as well, it's not exactly like George has made massive friends over at Milton Keynes over the last 12 months with some of the comments that haven't been made, and clearly the amount of time that Mr. Horner and etc. have spent trying to take race victories away from George Russell. I mean, does he just end up, I don't know, driving at Haas or something if he got booted out of the Mercedes? Or does he go to Chevrolet or whatever it's going to be called?
Chevrolet. Well, that's another point, actually. I think either Bottas is doing some wonderful shithousery on social media, or he has essentially soft-launched a seat with Cadillac for next year, which we have talked about on this pod before. I think makes the most possible sense anywhere for all involved. And I think it's not going to be a surprise to me at all if come the summer break they go, we've made our first driver signing and it's Valtteri Bottas. I think I don't know. In my mind, he's basically already driving for them next year, and then it's who goes alongside him is the other question. You asked in there what was going to be my follow-up question. And what I will say, it was a wonderful 250 words in which you said no defining opinion. That if Max does say, yeah, go on then, I'll come drive for you, is it George or is it Kimi? And I think we are both in agreement that it would be George, because then I think Kimi's shown too much for a 12-year-old to not bet on that horse. George has shown a lot this year. George has been very, very strong, and let's not get that mixed up. But George is, 24, 25, 26, 27, that sort of business.
Yeah.
If Antonelli is as good as George Russell, you've got another decade's worth of Antonelli before he gets to where Russell is now. You're just going to bet on that horse.
Yep.
Where George Russell goes, if that were to happen, is a very interesting thing because I don't think there is a good option. There's no Ferrari seat. The Red Bull seat, I could see them jumping for it on a short-termy 1+1 or something like that because we've got new regs. You need an experienced driver. Like, let's have a banker in that seat and we'll just forget all that other stuff that happened. George, here's some energy drink and money. How about that? We all good again? Beyond that, he's not going to Williams. Williams are locked in. Alex Albon's great. Carlos Sainz is great. I don't think either of those two are going anywhere because I think they've proven, I think, why Sainz signed for them, I think, this year. The progress they've made. Okay, it's not worked out necessarily for Carlos in terms of results, but he's not pootling around the back because the, mechanics are shit. Where does he go? McLaren
are locked in.
Are locked in. The only way that
junior team, if the Red Bull junior team are part of that family, ain't going to go there.
No, the only way that I could see a Papaya Russell is if there were a couple of moving pieces and it was it would be, I think, Lando out of the two. Horner finally gets Lando. Lando goes and sits in a Red Bull seat. George goes orange. Max goes black. I could see that. I think that's a three-way trade that has to facilitate this, I think. And we know that Horner has tried to get Lando for long enough. And we know that... Well, no, we don't know, actually. No is the wrong one. We know that Horner's been trying to get Lando. And I was about to say, and we know that Lando is slightly unsettled at McLaren in the minute, which is not true. And I will walk that back. But Lando is having to compete against a one-to-one. And he's having to fight hard against that it could be... a Danny Rick style scenario, actually. A Danny Rick Red Bull scenario of hotshot young bloke is really pushing me head to head here and is probably better than me. Do I want that noise or do I jump to another project? Which, hey, if you want to play the similarity game, the Renault that Danny Rick jumped to and the position of Red Bull now and the McLaren position now and the Red Bull position when Danny Rick jumped from it, it's all very, very similar, is what I'll say. We're going round in circles, but I could see that. I don't think it's likely, but I could see that three-way chess move.
Yeah. It's a nice tinfoil hat you're wearing. I like it.
I don't even think it's an outrageous tinfoil by the standards of some of my tinfoils.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if it were to happen, I think it would require more than just one moving chess piece. It would require a few other things to line up and fall into place, which is entirely possible. We don't know, do we? Who knows how the remainder of this season is going to play out? Who knows what and who's going to take an advantage in 2026? So, yeah, we'll see. I've got a little bit of Ferrari news before we talk about the FIA and do our wheel of famous racing drivers. Obviously, they're the only team that haven't won a proper Formula One race so far in 2025, so eyes on them. There's some upgrades coming, apparently. They might be this weekend. They might be Silverstone. I don't think Ferrari know, which just feels like a very Ferrari thing to kind of not know when their upgrades would be available. But, and this is a quote from Fred Vasseur, obviously the team principal for Ferrari. And I don't fully understand it, but he said, and I think maybe lost in translation, honestly, I think there is much more in execution and what you get from the car than the potential of the car itself. Now, is he saying that the Ferrari is fine? It's a race-winning piece of mechanics and can win races right now and has been able to for the entirety of the 2025 season. And actually, Charles and Lewis need to pull their socks up and just do better. Is that what he's saying? Or is there a little bit of translation there that's kind of been lost? Because I don't necessarily know he's the type of bloke just to call out his Formula One drivers.
No, but also if we're going to read that quote for the words that are in that quote says the car's fine, it's the people in the car that are the fucking problem. I don't think that is the case by a margin. you could argue that there are some blokes behind the pit wall that may not be assisting getting that car as far up as it could be. But I think qualifying shows where that car is at, because it's not one-offs. It's consistently every week. Those the Ferraris are having to push sometimes to get out of Q2 into Q3. And yeah, okay, then they'll pull a lap together and they'll end up 5th and 7th or 5th and 6th or whatever. But it's not as if we're seeing Q1 and Q2, Ferraris 1-2, and then in Q3 they can't put a lap together because it's just a pair of Lando Norrises. Like, it's... That car's not a podium car. It's not a podium car right now. And you can't tell me that we're now, 12 rounds of the way through the season or something like that? You can't tell me over 12 Grand Prix weekends that both drivers have just fucked it constantly. It's just not happening. Fred, mate,
No.
This is like... I'm going back to the F1 game. You know when you do a My Team thing on the F1 game?
Yeah.
And they give you that question. Hey, boss, can I grab you for a second? We need to do something here, and do you want to say this? And it's plus 5% driver morale, but you've minus 5% mechanic morale. Or say this, and it's plus 10% aerodynamic team morale, but the R&D team loses morale. Yeah. I think he's got that. He's had that pop-up come up. And he's gone, no, I'll boost the engineers and I'll knock my driver morale down. Because it's just, Fred, I love you, but it's wank. It's wank. Keep your head
Fair
down,
enough.
son.
I mean, the upgrades might be as well. They might not make a blind
when they get here,
difference,
if they get here.
There you go. There's some Ferrari news that may or may not happen, and we may or may not know whose fault it is. We don't really know, do we? FIA.
The FIA.
The FIA. Well, a couple of weeks ago, we asked the FIA specifically, we got in contact with them via the means of an audio podcast and video, if you'd like to watch it on YouTube as well, and see the two beautiful faces that you listen to through your AirPods or potential car speakers whilst you're driving around wherever you are listening to this. But yeah, anyway, hi, this is us. We asked them to tell us what driving standards are, and we asked them to tell us what penalties are. And fortunately for us, they were listening. They've given us further clarity with regards to the driving standards and also penalty points.
Yes. They, I mean, I worked in sports media for long enough that I've written enough headlines for news articles, and I'm aware of the conversations that go on in these PR offices about what this article headline should be. This has not been written by one person and just press publish. This has been through multiple hands. The headline of the article starts with FIA adds further transparency to Formula One World Championship. First of all, no. Right? I'm going to pull you up right there, FIA. Further transparency implies some transparency to begin with. And so far, the FIA have been as transparent as fucking carbon fiber about how they do things, right?
Carbon fiber.
Carbon fiber. This is not further transparency. This is FIA finally provides some level of transparency, is what the article should be. But from there, fair play. This is what we should have had all along. And what makes it worse, I think, is if you read these FIA documents, at the top of them, FIA Formula One Driving Standards Guidelines, February 20, 2025, version 4.1. So you've had this document ready since the 20th of February, before we went racing for this season, and you have waited until the middle of the back end of June before you went, oh yeah, we could probably let people see that.
Well, yeah, but we didn't ask for it until the beginning of June. This is on us, AB. The fact that we didn't ask for it is the reason why they've not made it
I asked for a video,
public.
not a 9-page PDF.
All right, fair enough. Where they said further transparency, I agree with you. I mean, it just wasn't, was it? This stuff, by all accounts, wasn't readily available. I dare say that somewhere, where you would be able to download the 2025 regulations, and you'd be able to download a PDF that would be made up of about 4,500 pages, and somewhere in there would be a really kind of in-depth version of all of this information. What they've done here is basically provide a bit of an idiot's guide to what we've asked for. We are essentially laymen when it comes to understanding the rules and regulations and the penalties, and it's what we've been asked for, because you and I have been calling for, and I'm sure a lot of people have, is some understanding with regards to the consistency at which some of these penalties and rules and standards and wheel-to-wheel combat is measured by. And they've kind of made a rod for their own back here because it hasn't been consistent with the way that they've dished them out. And now they kind of have to be consistent with how they dish them out. Otherwise, they are going to get a bunch of completely unqualified people on the internet, you and I included, going, page 7 of your PDF document says that, well, if your mechanics work a minute past the curfew, actually, they should be getting X. Or if this happens, they should be getting Y. And now why hasn't that happened? I don't know whether it's actually helped them or not, or whether they'd have been better off just keeping it under their own kind of wraps.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you an immediate to two things you said there, actually. I don't think this is the dumbed down layman's version. I think this is it.
Oh.
The driving standards guidelines document, I think this is it. I think this is the document. I don't think this is a front-facing, glitzed up document, because I think if it was, it would have been more branded and it wouldn't have been dated version 4.1 February 20. Like, this has got breadcrumbs on it, if you like, that this is a document and it's an old document. You know, I think if they had just decided to make an infographic document for you and I and the wider public, that wouldn't be on there, because why would you own up to this being a document from February 20, and why would you say it's version 4.1? I think you would just go, here's the driving standards guideline.
Yeah.
And I think there would be more color and diagrams and stuff on this. There are a couple, but there would be more diagrams and stuff. I find it very interesting as well. The first words on this document, these are guidelines and not regulations, which is the wonderful Michael Massey, RIP in peace, like, catch-all. These don't actually mean boopity-boo. These are the starting point, in the same way that I can bake a loaf of bread with the starting point of a cake recipe, but if I change enough ingredients because of my mood, I can now turn that into a loaf of bread. Like, it's... I think that is where they get out of jail with what you just said there, with, like, we can now hold them accountable to this. We can't, because of the first thing they said, is that they'll go, but Dan, I see what you're saying, but these are guidelines, not regulations. And you think, but then it's back to what we've said all along. Racing's grey. This is also grey. And this, guideline A is overtaking on the inside of a corner. Guideline B is overtaking on the outside of a corner. And guideline C is chicanes and S-bends. And what guideline C says is, the above guides for inside and outside may apply for each element of this combination. And that's it. That's the whole guideline, is that it's going to be both. Generally, priority will be given to the first corner element. And that's it. That doesn't clear anything up.
I think I could be an F1 steward now, though.
I think we can certainly try. Certainly try. And I find it wonderful as well. This FIA penalties document, again, I'm looking at formatting here in the document itself, and I'm going to believe that this is this is version 14th of May. This is a more recent document. But I love that the heading of this is Guidelines for Penalties and Points, 2025, 14th of May, clean. As if there's an explicit version that just says breach of covers on fucking time, 23.6. Pit lane start for both those cunts. Like, I really want there to be an explicit version of the FIA guidelines document that is just Rui Marquez saying what he really thinks. Forcing a driver off the track recklessly, you prick. Drop of 10 or more grid positions and you'll fucking like it. Like, that's what I want this document to say. Give me that, Dot.
Yeah. Yeah, please.
What does clean mean on the top of that? I don't know what clean refers to.
It's very rarely that you actually make me laugh, and you did then, so good for you. And I'd like it. Give me the explicit version. Give me the explicit version. Hey, maybe genuinely this is a segment that we can add to the podcast going forward, as we can apply these guidelines. They're not regulations, guidelines, as you well pointed out, and see if we come up with the same scenario or the same conclusion at which the actual stewards did.
Well, I'll write down in my notes for next week, top of hill hairpin guidelines chat.
Guidelines, guidelines though.
Dare say there will be some in that. Right, should we see who's going to be driving for us around said hairpin
Yes,
at the top
please.
of that list? Do you want to give us a quick recap of where we're up to in the championship?
I would love to, if you would like to just share the screen on the
Here
on
it
the
comes.
call. I'm currently 25 points behind you. You have 141 points. I have 116. It's been, yeah. I mean, since our since our guideline change with regard to
the cleaner explicit
making
one.
sure that we do shuffle the drivers, it has evened it out a little bit. I picked up 14 points in Spain somehow with Isaac Hadjar and Nico Hülkenberg.
Great business.
And you picked up 12 points in Canada because you had Oscar Pastry. And he's quite good at doing Formula One car driving, especially when his teammate kind of enters the rear end of his car without consent. So we have Austria. I believe, is this an odd round or an even round?
It's a great question. It's a great question. This is... Oh, I don't know. It doesn't come up on... This is round 11. It's round 11.
I think that might be me to have the first spin then, I think.
Okie dokie. Here it comes. Here comes your first spin.
I don't know if I'm excited for it, to tell you the complete truth.
You should be. I think you
I should be.
I think you should get even more excited now. Oh no, that's not bad. I thought you were going to get Mr. Stroll, but you've landed on Mr. Albon. I think
I don't hate that.
That's banker points, I think, this year. I feel like he's scored points at most race weekends at this stage. Not huge points, but
I'm looking forward to him not doing that in Austria.
It's a cursed track for him, isn't it? He's got his own corner, and they don't give you a corner name until you're dead or something happened. So I'm not sure, actually. There might be some curse element involved there, but...
Oh, well.
Hey.
Take him out. Give it a good shuffle.
Giving it a good shuffle and spinning that wheel.
I wonder which one of the orange drivers he'll get this week.
Here comes Lando. No. Sorry, what's his name? I haven't seen him before.
Does he drive? Is he going to drive for Red Bull next year?
Oh, that's George Russell. Okay.
Oh.
Okay, that's that one. I see him sometime on the steppy bits.
I'll
take that.
I've heard him before. That's a fucking good song.
Yeah. Happy. I'm happy. Because I've counted and slightly one-upped your first pick there, which is the important thing, I think.
You've done well. I mean, let's hope that Mercedes power units struggle through the course of that Grand Prix.
Danger.
No, that's
a green boy. That's a green boy.
Not a good place to land, is it?
There was a big old green wedge on the wheel there, and you've landed on arguably the better of the two. Not even arguably. You've landed on objectively the better of the two. You've got yourself Fernando Alonso.
Yeah.
He scored his first points recently for the year, so that doesn't bode brilliantly for you. But hey, maybe Monkey's off his back now, though, so he's going to be off and away. Perhaps.
Both drivers' surnames begin with A, though. That's exciting.
And my second one, don't do it. Oh, it's done it.
Looks like we're both Aston Martin fans this weekend, then.
It stopped between Isaac Hadjar, Lewis Hamilton, Kimi Antonelli, and it had to give me Lance Stroll. Come on, wheel.
He might have punched the wall again by then, mate, and he might not drive, so...
True.
You might not even have to deal with it.
Right, well, there we go. I've got Russell, and I've got Stroll. You've got Alonso and Albon. You've got the AA boys.
I have. I don't know. I mean, Russell could outscore both of them combined. I don't hate the two of them.
George is going to have a sore back after this weekend, is what I'll say. The porpoising is back as far as George's back is concerned. Right then, hey, that's our Austria preview. And we will see you next week post Austria, pre-Silverstone. Are we a double bubble? We're a double bubble.
We are, yeah, double bubble.
Double bubble. Dan, where can they find you doing things in the meantime?
At Dan Jads on the internet. You can find me over there if you want to come and have a little look at some other sporting stuff. How about yourself? What games are you playing at the moment?
I was doing a lot of roading, a lot of road-based
Nice.
stuff, a lot of sand pouring, a lot of heavy, manly machinery stuff, you know?
Right.
A lot of that sort of business.
From the comfort of your office desk.
From the comfort of the office desk in a luxury chair with a magnetic headrest at switch.tv/Hey Look It's Alex. Lapdown Pod on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram. If you want to go see some clips there, you should subscribe and you should review it and you should send it to a friend and all that good stuff. And if you want to send us a message, lapdownpod@gmail.com, you can do that as well. In the meantime, I'm going to go read some driver's standards guidelines.
Good.
And I look forward to an Austrian weekend around the ring. We'll see you next week.
See ya.